things that you might overlook, little blind spots that we might run into financially that can be very, very costly that most people just don't tend to pay attention to. And consciousness, part of consciousness is sight. It's the ability to see. And there's a lot of blind, deaf, dumb people out here. And I'd hate to say it like that. I don't want to be mean, but there's a lot of okey dokes that are pulled on people, the wool over their eyes, things that they miss that cause them to miss the money. There is money out here. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who tells you that there ain't no money out here and it's hard to get money and all that, that's because they're not looking in the right place. There is plenty of money in this economy. In fact, if the U.S. ain't got no money, then the whole world is broke. Like because the U.S. is the richest country on the planet on a per capita basis. We have a ridiculous amount of money. In fact, I'll give you an example. When I went to China, I taught in China in 2005 and it was an amazing experience. The students were extraordinary, and it was just a great all around experience. I never forgot it. And when I was there, I negotiated what I thought was just like a fair salary. I don't remember how much money I was going to get paid, but it was a decent amount of money, I guess. And I was a professor at Syracuse, which is a decent school. And I remember when I went over there, I didn't realize that the amount of money that I got paid to teach for 10 days was equivalent to 2 years' salary for the average Chinese worker, person, citizen. Literally, and the average Chinese person would have to work 2 years to make the amount of money I made in 10 days. And that was just a blessing and a privilege that I never took for granted. I didn't look at it like, oh, I'm better than you or anything like that. It's sometimes you got to see stuff like that to remind you. You have to see things like that to remind yourself how blessed we are. Like I just really think sometimes we just get so caught up in the negativity. And every study shows, by the way, that if you're constantly thinking about the negative and thinking about what you don't have and thinking in a scarcity mindset, you're not gonna be successful. I mean, how can you rise when all you're doing is looking down, right? How can you go to heaven when you're obsessed with being in hell? I really just wish that this kind of conversation could happen more because I just see so much doom and gloom, so much woe is me. We can't do nothing. Look, they won't let us do nothing. They won't let us have nothing. We can't never accomplish nothing. It's like, Lord Jesus. It's like the Negro naysayer. The Negro naysayer, you probably have one in your family. The Negro naysayer is the person who will find a problem for every solution. Anybody know? Let me know if you got any Negro naysayers in your life. Everybody's got to have at least one because it's really fascinating. It's a fascinating creature. The Negro naysayer will always find a problem for every solution. Like they will work their ass off to make sure that whatever plan you have is not going to work and might even sabotage it just to make sure they prove that they're right. Right? Like we'll do like psychological acrobatics. Will literally be sweating on the forehead, trying to just work as hard as they possibly can in order to find a reason why it won't work. And I just think about that. I say, man, if you worked as hard to find solutions as you work to find problems, you'd be able to do anything. Like you are working really hard to kill a dream. Like what you do understand that's a mental illness, right? So don't spend a lot of time around dream killers because they're very good at their jobs. It's very easy, if you're black in this country, in my opinion, to find people that will remind you of all the things you can't do because you're black. And I think that's a form of white supremacy. I really do. I think that's, in fact, even with our kids, I do believe, as my mother did believe, my mother's very, very big on education before she passed. She just believed that we were cursed by low expectations. We don't push our kids to do nothing, so they believe they can't do nothing. And guess what? When you tell somebody they can't do nothing, then how much they gonna do? Right? If you tell somebody that all you are is disabled and incapable, and you're not going to go anywhere. And this is important to talk about because as we're talking about the mechanics of economics, you got to talk about the really the metaphysics of economics, the spiritual, psychological aspect of economics, the subconscious mind, and the impact on your economics. Right? If you don't believe you deserve something or don't believe you can accomplish something, then you're not going to accomplish that thing. Somebody can give you all the money in the world, all the opportunity in the world, all the guidance in the world. But if all you're doing is repeating to your subconscious mind that you can't do it, I'm just a Negro, I ain't never going to be nobody, then that's what you're exactly what you're going to get. So it's very important to, it reminds me of how you have these kids that grow up in the suburbs with two-parent homes and they listen to so much gangster rap that they want to become gangsters. And next thing you know, they run around in neighborhoods they ain't even got to be, they don't even have to live in, right? Just to kind of prove that there's something that they're not. And next thing you know, they're in all these terrible situations, right? Mindset is everything when it comes to economics. If you don't get the mindset part right, it's going to be really difficult to elevate and to do the things that you want to do. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention before I forget is some of you had reached out about wanting to apply to speak at the All Black National Convention. The All Black National Convention takes place the weekend of October 16th, and it's going to be lit. It's always lit. And we have just tons and tons of amazing, extraordinary speakers and smart Black people from all walks of life, particularly in the areas of things like mental health and physical health. So we have therapists, psychiatrists, things like that. But also we have real estate experts and crypto experts. But then at the same time, we might have relationship experts like my wife. She's a licensed therapist. And we know that broken Black families and busted Black families is a leading driver of Black wealth decline. So we bring in the specialists to fix that. So if you are a specialist in some area where you think you can help others and you'd like to be a part of a breakout or a panel, would like to apply, feel free to click that link right there and apply. And those who are not inside the private Zoom, make sure that you text the word morning to the number 87948. And when I send out the link for the private Zoom, make sure you join the private Zoom so I can give you links and stuff like that for things that are out there. But yeah, so this is we like to talk to people that understand what the assignment is. The assignment that we care about, you don't have to care about it, but it's what we care about, is putting our community first and solving our community's problems. That's it, right? One of the reasons Black problems don't get solved is because there's nobody out there that specifically says, hey, we're bringing together the best scientists to solve Black problems. We're bringing together millionaires to solve Black problems. We're bringing together teachers and activists and thought leaders and medical doctors and all the PhDs to solve Black problems. This is one of the reasons why problems don't get solved, because that which you put attention into is that which grows. It's that which gets the amount of healthy sunlight, meaning that it is allowed to heal and improve and things like that. Like, for example, the things you pay attention to now, for example, might be probably things like going to work every day. So because you've gone to work every day, your company's doing well, and you're accumulating all these days at work. You've probably gone to work, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 hours. Maybe you put time into your kids, right? So you put time into the kids. You see that things happen with the kids, right? The things that we neglect tend to fail, right? Like if we neglect our health, if I'm not thinking about my health, I'm not conscious of my health, I'm not processing that on any level, then guess what? My health will go down. So if you look at the health of the Black community, if you feel that we are either healthy or unhealthy, and it's a mix, right? Some areas we're doing better, some areas we still got work to do. I want you to ask yourself how much attention is being paid to that thing. Attention is a type of investment. And that's another thing you want to watch out for, is that there are people and things and nonsense that will try to fight for your attention. And when you invest your attention in things that are not going to benefit you, then that is no different from wasting money. That's very similar to wasting money. Now, really quickly, let's go into something really quick. I want to just share a couple of Black wealth stories with you. So I'm going to pull up, if you bear with me, I'm going to pull up my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. I have a backup Instagram at Dr. Boyce Money, and that's where we do a lot of economic storytelling. So if you'd like to follow at Dr. Boyce Money, that's another platform we have. You have to have multiple platforms of social media because, unfortunately, the YouTube gods and internet gods, they'll come in and they'll just shut you down and not even tell you why and all this other nonsense. And so you have to really make sure that you have a backup, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And so, in fact, if you are trying to do things, build your brand and your business and all that, I encourage you to embrace social media, but embrace it in a really healthy, productive way, and embrace it in a way where you're diversified and you're consistent and you kind of understand how the game works. Tiara Williams is actually doing some things where she's helping those that want to set up podcasts and stuff like that. I'm going to bring her in so she can kind of talk about that a little bit at some point. I just got to find her and get her in here. All right. So yeah, so that's just me with sunglasses because they sunglasses make people automatically cool. I'm not a cool person, but when I wear sunglasses, I look pretty cool. What do you think? Y'all think I look like I really know what the hell's going on, don't I? Like, man, this dude's got it together, don't he? He that's the man right there. It ain't nothing but some damn sunglasses. What the hell, man? How is it that putting on some sunglasses completely changes how we view a person? That's crazy because I'm still a nerd. I just look like a cool nerd. Anyway, yeah, but here's this is something I believe. Don't fear failure. Your fear should be staying average. I don't want you to be average. I don't want you to be a mediocre version of yourself. I want you to be great, man. There's so much greatness out here in this world. If you go and you grab it and you commit to it and you have the discipline and you commit to obtaining the discipline and you put yourself in mildly uncomfortable spaces on a consistent basis, you're gonna grow, right? Success does not live in your comfort zone ever. Success is not in your comfort zone. What you want is not in your comfort zone. So your comfort zone is a place maybe you go where you catch a breather, right? Be comfortable for a little while, but then every day make yourself a little uncomfortable. Do something a little bit different. And you know what also that does is it doesn't just help you grow, it also adds novelty to your life, which also allows actually for a slowing of the passage of time. In fact, let me drop that for a minute because I want to share this. I'm always really interested in metaphysics and the mind and how the subconscious mind works and how to manifest and how to really be your best. And one of the things I found out, I remember I couldn't figure out. Anybody ever heard, like, you ever notice how, like, it seems like time just goes by really fast, especially as you get older, and you're like, man, it was just 2019, and now it's 2026. Before that, it's just 2012, and 2010 seems like it was yesterday. Anybody go through that? I go through that all the time. I'm like, oh my God, time is going by so fast. You better do it now because before you know it, 2 more years will go by. I remember when 2021 was a big deal, when that seemed like the future. I'm like, now 2021 is the past. The good old days are 2017. What the hell? What world am I living in? This is weird. This is not, every day I feel like I'm on another planet. This ain't, because I remember when we was partying like it's 1999, and 1999 was a long time away. Oh my God, this is strange. Well, check this out. Part of the reason that your brain thinks that time is going by fast is because you're in a rut. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, then your brain doesn't know the difference between 2023 and 2021. Right? It doesn't. It's like it's all the same. It's a big it's a big blob, right? So one way to slow down time actually is introducing novelty in your life. Try something new, learn a new skill, right? I'm not a master at it, but one thing I did that I think was the right thing to do was I decided, I think I want to be an airplane pilot. So I spent a year like learning how to fly airplanes and I flew airplanes and then I vomited a couple of times and realized, okay, let me take a little break. I'm about to step to the side. Like, but I have so much respect for real pilots. Like, but I technically kind of am a real, like I could really take the plane off and fly around the airport and all. I did all that. It was crazy, and I'll never forget that. Right. Or if you take an epic trip, taking a trip with your family and friends, or take the kids somewhere while they're still young, that you'll remember that. That'll stick out. You'll be like, okay, I remember 2022 because that was the year we went to blank. Or even switching where you work, like if you work in one part of the house, moving to a different part of the house, and or changing your hairstyle, just something that introduces novelty into your life slows down time. Because they say for children, time moves slower because for children, everything's always new, everything's always different, right? They remember the difference between being in the first grade and being in the third grade. So for kids, the time is like super slow. It takes forever to turn 18. But once you're like working and you get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, weekend, 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 get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Well, that gets you in the rut and it makes the time just zip by. So don't get caught up in that. Like I remember going to Christmas at my great grandma's house and I would see a cousin that I hadn't seen for a year. Now, mind you, this guy lives 10 miles away from me, but I hadn't seen him for a whole year. And I would say, so I want you to imagine these conversations and I want you to imagine how they go. When you say, hey, good to see you again. So what you been up to? What you been into? Oh, nothing. Working, just working. You ever hear that? Anybody have those conversations? Right? And it's not like it's working on your passion. Like, oh my God, I finally finished my painting, or I wrote my first book, or I just started something new. No, it's like I'm going to the same factory I've been going to for the last 25 years. Like, I'm not saying that that's bad. I know we got to do what we got to do, but there's opportunities for novelty around in your life. I would look for that. That'll slow down time. So being average, I think that's the thing that keeps me up at night. I don't want to be average. I don't believe we should be average. I don't believe black people are average. I think black people are great, and I want us to be great. Now let me share this. I'm gonna play this quick little video. Just in terms of, I like to make these little financial lessons, and this is on my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Money. So here it goes.
Did you know that Exxon actually made money from one of the worst oil spills in history? In 1989, the Exxon Valdez crashed in Alaska. 11 million gallons of oil spilled everywhere. Fish died. Birds died. 32,000 fishermen lost their jobs. But here's the crazy part. Exxon's stock went up 12% that year. How? The executives were genius-level evil. They created fake companies to handle the cleanup. These companies charged Exxon crazy high prices, but Exxon owned them secretly, so the money went right back to Exxon. They also used the disaster to avoid paying $2 billion in taxes. They said the cleanup was a business expense. When courts ordered them to pay $9.5 billion to victims, Exxon fought it for 20 years. They only paid $500 million in the end. The best part? Their insurance covered most cleanup costs anyway. But they cried about being broke the whole time. CEO Lee Raymond made $144 million while fishermen went bankrupt. That's how you turn a disaster into profit. Did you know that Exxon
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all catch that? That's wild, right? That's really wild. I mean, just gives you an insight into business. And I'm not here. I mean, obviously, there's some ethical issues there, right? But it's Exxon. What do you expect? And but at the same time, it really speaks to there's a way the game is played when it comes to business and wealth. And I'm not here to tell you if you should like it or not. I'm here to tell you that that's what it is. And so, if you, let's say you're more ethical than Exxon, it's extremely important, I think, to understand how things like forming that family LLC and stuff like that can at least allow you to reduce that tax bill a little bit. It can fund chunks of your lifestyle if done ethically and legally. It can just make life a little bit easier than sort of taking the standard route, which is I'm going to work and they're going to take a bunch of my money out in taxes and I get no benefits. I spend money, I'm spending taxed money, right? I'm not spending pre-tax money. So business owners can make expenditures that allow them to reduce their tax. So they're getting a discount on everything. So remember, a tax write-off doesn't make it free. What a tax write-off does is it drops the price. So if I'm paying 40% in my tax rate, and I buy the same thing you buy for $100, you're paying 100. The rich guy is paying, $60, right? So ultimately, I would encourage you, first after you finish being mad about it, just understand it and do what you want with the information. I'm not here. I don't like telling anybody what to do. I don't. I'd rather. In fact, if I am a leader, I know that I have some influence over people. If I'm a leader, I'd rather lead by example than lead by wagging my finger and telling you what to do. I want you to know what to do or figure that out and make the decision for yourself. And in fact, when it comes to investing, never invest in anything that you don't understand. Never invest in anything that you're not prepared, where you're not prepared for what's coming, right? And I had a conversation with somebody the other day about the Tulsa real estate fund, and I said, look, I don't know what to say. I lost money in the fund, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I supported it just because I support black stuff, but I said, you can't be talking about an investment that you lost money on 5 years later. Like if you did lose money. And this person, I don't think they made any money. I don't think they invested. I think they just had negative things to say. But I said, look, it happened. It's over. Did you really spend 5 years wasted dwelling on money that you lost? Which means you lost even more money because there's money out here you could have made doing something else. Um, and so two things. One, if you ever make an investment, never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's the first thing. Two, make sure you understand what you're getting into. And then three, if you get hit, you got to move. Investors have to be able to take punches and keep going. This stock market will it'll punch you in your face, slap you, kick you upside your head while you're on the ground. But you got to be able to get back up because that's the only way you'll get the opportunity to experience the benefits. Last week, we were talking about the stock market, and you saw a big drop, a big plummet, a big crash. Everything went south. And then the very next day, the market was exploding and money was falling out of the sky, right? So just know that's the nature of investing. It's a roller coaster, but if you contextualize it right, this is why we spend so much time talking about our Black Financial Therapy department. If you process it in the right way, it can literally be a really fun ride. In fact, there was a stock I wanted to show you. Let me see if I might. I have too many screens open. I keep too many screens open. But let me start closing. I can't find it. Gosh dang it! I wanted to show you all. There was one stock I had mentioned to you all that I bought. Oh, not long ago, and I mentioned that it was my favorite stock of the year, and the one that I wanted to buy the most, and it was Micron. I don't know. Does anybody remember me talking about Micron by chance? Ticker symbol MU. I don't know how many of y'all remember me talking about Micron. I know I talked about when we were meeting for our stock market investors club. Do you remember Micron? Because I think I brought it up a few times. I believe and I hope I didn't bring it up so much in my head. But yeah, Okay, yeah, I see the yeses. Okay, great. Yeah, well, it looks like Micron. That's a win, right? We were right about this. Okay, look at Micron the last 6 months. It's grown astronomically. The stock has been just insanely powerful. And it was one of the stocks that I wanted to commit to at the turn of the year, right? So around December, I think I was in Copenhagen, and I think I was talking to you guys about it when I was in Copenhagen. I said, I think I want to invest heavily in Micron because I was literally, I kid you not, I was literally walking around Copenhagen, Denmark by myself at 2:30 in the morning. And the reason I was walking around Copenhagen at 2:30 in the morning is because their time difference is crazy. It was like for them it was 2:30 a.m. For me it was like 8 o'clock, 8:30, right? So I went for a run. I was walking around Copenhagen at 2:30 in the morning. It's a beautiful place. It's very safe. Europe ain't like walking around Philly or Chicago in the middle of the night. Chicago, you might get your wig split that day. But Copenhagen is safe. There's like friendly white people there. And anyway, I was listening to some analysis, and I said, yeah, I think Micron's a place I want to invest some of our family money. And you see, so far this year, it's gone up 37%. That's really cool. And if you had it for over a year, I mean, you've really killed it. This thing has gone up 364%, which is ridiculous, right? But the point of the matter is to say that when you're consistent and you can deal with the setbacks, then you also get the joy of the comebacks, right? You get the upside because you're willing to endure the downside. That is just a requirement of being a good investor. There's no way around that. One thing I want to remind you. Actually, let me give you a stock that I actually like right now. I'm not telling you to buy it, just telling you I am going to buy it. It's a long-term investment, though. I'm thinking 5-year time horizon, not 3 months is great, but I'm looking 3 to 5 years. Okay, and that is ServiceNow. ServiceNow. A lot of the software companies got body slammed because of AI killing the software companies. But my research indicates to me that there's a good chance that ServiceNow might have gotten hit a little bit harder than it should have. The ticker symbol is now NOW. And let me see. It's down. It's down a lot this month. It's down 22% this month. So some indicate that as a buying opportunity. We'll see, though. We'll see. We'll see. Software companies are iffy because of AI. Like no one knows exactly how much disruption AI is going to do to these software companies. But I just kind of think the software companies are going to learn to use AI in a really creative way, and be able to just do a better job at what they do. I don't think it's going to kill their businesses. But anyway, all right. So moving on. Let me see here. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys are going to South Africa with us or not, but I think the last date to sign up for South Africa is in a couple of weeks. And so if you want to go to South Africa with us, just go to b1voyages.com, b1voyages.com. I think that might be the epic trip that you can take. And you can say, I was hanging out with Dr. Boyce in South Africa, and he's just as weird he's just as weird in person as he is on the internet. All right, so here, and Alicia will be there too. All right, and then also she's doing a retreat in Costa Rica, so I'll be there for that as well. Trying to support, and of course I'll do some financial sessions and all that stuff. All right, so let's go through one more story. I just kind of like these little stories, and then we'll talk about something else real quick. So here's another one. I don't even know what this one is. I literally have no idea what this next story is going to be. So we're literally watching this together. So here it goes.
Did you know Uber deliberately lost $31 billion to destroy your local taxi drivers? This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated plan. Here's how they did it. Saudi Arabia gave Uber $3.5 billion. SoftBank gave them even more, all to kill American transportation jobs. Uber's plan was simple but evil. Pay drivers almost nothing, lose money on every single ride, use investor cash to make rides cheaper than taxis, wait for taxi companies to go bankrupt. While drivers made less than minimum wage, CEO Travis Kalanick became a billionaire. He sold hundreds of millions in stock while his company burned through cash. The worst part? Uber used surge pricing during emergencies. Hurricane coming? Prices go up. People fleeing disasters paid 5 times normal rates. Once taxis died, Uber raised prices 40% higher than old taxi rates. They got their monopoly. Saudi money helped destroy American jobs, and executives got rich. Your cheap ride was subsidized by foreign investors betting against American workers, and it worked perfectly. Did you know Uber?
Okay, all right. So you get this. I mean, the tone of the stories is kind of sinister. Like the corporations are 100% evil, and it's probably more nuanced than that, right? Even though I told you capitalism at its finest is pretty oppressive. It's pretty rough, right? And so understanding capitalism, I think, is the best approach. I don't know if you can eliminate capitalism, and even if you did, there have been countries that have gotten rid of capitalism and they went socialist, and next thing you know, you got poverty everywhere, right? Communist poverty everywhere, right? So I'm not here to tell you that capitalism is all bad, but I definitely would never tell you that it's all good. It's not. I told you that's why I'm not. I don't believe in. I'm not a capitalist. I'm just not. But I do believe in the ethical use of free enterprise to achieve specific goals. In fact, I think that a business model can help you achieve a socialist goal. If you are a socialist and you've got an economic engine, then you are able to do more than a socialist who does not have the ability to pay their own bills, right? You get what I'm saying? Because everybody needs food, everybody's got to have a place to live, everybody's got to find a way to get the basics. So, anyway, with Uber, what they were describing there is a business strategy that Amazon also used. The Chinese use this strategy as well on a regular basis because, as you know, economics is war. And so what happens is everybody who does people who don't understand business will focus on things like profitability. Like they'll say, you're not a good businessman because you didn't even make a profit. That is not always the correct way to assess the quality of a business. Business owners, especially those that are well funded, that have money, plenty of money from the bank, they don't care about profitability in the beginning. A lot of them care about market share. That's what they care about. So what they might do is Amazon did it. China does it all the time. Is they might say, look, I just want to take the market and I'll make my money later. Delayed gratification. That's the approach. They say, look, I will go and I will do stuff for so cheap that you have to switch to my product because the other one's charging $20, we're charging two. So the switch is natural. And then once we get all the customers, then maybe we'll figure out how to make money after that. Facebook did it. Facebook, and it sucks sometimes when they do it. Because what Facebook did was they're like, yeah, we're going to give you all this stuff free and we're going to then let you have this big audience. And then they locked the audience and then started selling the audience that you built. Those are sinister models. That's not healthy. The Chinese are accused constantly. The World Trade Organization is constantly getting on China because they say, "Hold up, dude, you're not coming in trying to make a profit. You're coming in trying to get market share. You're offering stuff, you're dumping your products in the market, and it's undermining local businesses." And because the difference is that the Chinese have a long-term perspective. Two things the Chinese have in their culture. Remember, economics is cultural. In my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, all I talk about is economic culture. Two things about Chinese culture that makes them economically powerful is they have two things that Americans don't typically have. One is unity as a group. They think as a group. They move as a group. Groups are stronger than individuals. Two is long-term focus, the ability to delay gratification. Those two things give you a tremendous advantage when it comes to your economics. So, and I can think of times where I tried that and it worked for me. And anybody can do it. Let me give you an example. When I first wanted to build my career and I wanted people to know who the heck I was, I went to AOL Black Voices because I wanted to write for this platform, and it was the biggest black news platform in the country at the time. Some of you heard this story, and I said, at first I applied for the job, and they were like, "Well, we can't afford to pay you." I said, "That's okay, I'll work for free." And that at that point, that removed a barrier for entry. I was able to then go right in there, and they were happy to bring me in and happy to have me write all their articles. And here's the thing: if you don't understand the game, if you're playing chess, not checkers, you would look at that and think, "Oh my God, you're such a sucker. Like they're not paying you what you're worth. Like why are you letting them use you like that?" Right? You ever hear people talk like, "Why are you letting them use you like that?" Well, sometimes you're giving up something now so you can have something else later on down the road. Do you understand? Like, stop getting caught up in the not in what you're getting right now. Do you know how many times I've seen people miss $1 million opportunities because they didn't get a paycheck? Well, how much am I gonna get paid? You know what they know what that comes from is not just instant gratification, but instant gratification is linked to the trauma, which is connected to fear, right? So I want my money now because I don't trust that my rewards are coming. I don't trust you. I don't trust me. I don't trust the universe to deliver for me later on down the road. I have no desire or capacity to make an investment or a short-term sacrifice because I don't know if my reward is coming down the line. But this is the danger when you see black culture kind of sinking in certain areas where you have young people getting killed at an early age. A lot of the reason a lot of young people can't think about the future is because they don't believe they have one. Right? Like if you tell me I'm going to get these rewards when I'm 35 years old or 45 years old, I may not even think I'm gonna live past 25, so I might as well get it now. I need to get it all right now because it ain't coming. This is why the trauma healing is so important. This is why fixing the community is important. This is why stabilizing families is important. People that are in safe, stable scenarios that have healed from the trauma or been protected from it are better able to make long-term investments and sacrifices, not just financially, but just in every area of life, right? Like I am okay with letting my wife use me, if you want to call it, because I'm thinking about the big picture. Like someone will say, "Well, why would you let her have all your money and blah 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 blah? You're getting used. You're a simp." Yeah, but no. You think I'm a simp because I'm being nice to her, but believe me, I know I'm gonna get rewarded later on down the line. We're investing in each other. We have a reciprocal relationship here. This ain't get it while you can, right? And I want you to think about it like this, process it like this. Have you ever had like imagine like you have a suburban family. Some of y'all have lived this. Well, maybe you live in the suburbs and your kids were raised in the suburbs where everything's nice and safe and there's abundance and there's plenty of food and whatever. In fact, there's everything's so readily available that your kids don't even care about money because whenever they want something, they can have it. And then imagine that you invite over their cousin from the hood, right? Because you want to help them get a better life, like kind of like on different strokes or something. So you bring your cousin from the hood over to the house, and sometimes it can become a rough interaction sometimes, right? When you have a kid that's raised in a rough environment where there's scarcity and you got to fight for everything and everything's hard to get, and you bring them up against your little powder puff soft kid who shares with everybody and hugs everybody or whatever. You got to monitor that interaction because it can be messy, right? Because the kid who is used to fighting for food, what happens? You put a whole bunch of food on the table, they're gonna be grabbing, putting pieces of chicken in their pocket, and like or they see the nice toys that your child has, and they punching them in the face, taking the toys, and just stuff like that, right? Like there's a way of thinking that happens when you grow up in a space of scarcity versus when you have safety and abundance. And here's the reality. I want all of our kids to have safety and abundance. I hate the fact that we have so many people that have to grow up in these horrible situations, but there's a difference there. So a lot of times when it comes to relationship formation, the development of reciprocal scenarios that allow for mutual prosperity, a lot of that requires something that's hard to create when you are heavily traumatized and you haven't fixed the trauma, which is trust. Trust is an important part of that reciprocity because what it says is it says, look, I'm gonna let you have whatever you want from me, or not everything, but I'm gonna give to you heavily, and I'm gonna give in abundance because I trust the process. I trust that at some point, you're going to return the favor. I trust that at some point the universe is going to reward me for this sacrifice. So, circling back to business, to be specific about how this is applied economically, it applies in every area of life, actually. But let's go back to the economics. Some of these companies do is they say, We don't need to make money right now. If you know, OpenAI, one of the most powerful companies on earth, is so unprofitable, it's ridiculous. If you don't know business, you would think, what in the hell are you doing? This is crazy. You're not, you're losing billions of dollars every quarter. Why would you do that? Well, because they're developing market share. Well, they know they're going to get paid. They're going to get their money, or that's the plan anyway, right? Because they trust the process. The Chinese, they'll dump a product on the market because they want to control the market. They're playing chess, not checkers. So when you go in and you're moving into a situation in your life, you have to sort of ask yourself, how am I, what sort of time horizon am I processing this with? If it, now, sure, if it's something that's, kind of a short-term situation and you want to get what you can while you can immediately, then, or you don't have the trust there, that's fine. But if you go into a situation where trust is appropriate, then you may be able to get an advantage by having a long term time horizon. I've been able to in business, been able to get a lot of things done because I don't really wake up thinking about what I'm going to get out of it right now today. I look for situations where I can trust the process, and then I don't step up with asking for something. I step in offering something because I know eventually we're going to all figure this out, and eventually Boyce is going to get the rewards that might come from the universe. Like I'll give you an example. I often get accused of doing too much for free with the Black Business School. I consistently, they're like, "Why are you doing so much for free?" And I'll see somebody else is charging $30,000 for some program or something who doesn't even have one third of my credentials, right? Whatever, I don't care. And they said, "Well, why would you do that?" I said, "Well, because the universe takes care of me, right? My goal is to connect with people and show them how good we are, show them the value we can add." And then when it comes time to talk about money, because we have to talk about money, everybody needs money, the trust is there, which allows you to say, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to make this investment because this guy has shown value, right? And that's the thing. So some of you are at that point where you're still not sure. Maybe you're new and you're trying to figure it out. That's fine. Take your time, right? And that to me, I think is an adequate business model. I think that trying to get what you can right away whenever you're doing business or whatever, it's just not, it just doesn't work. It's just a bad move. Okay. So anyway, one thing I want to share really quickly, I actually wanted to talk about the economics of decision making really quickly too, and how bad decisions can be very costly. And I wanted to point out a couple of financial decisions that seem small but can be very costly long term. So let's see. Here's one. Let's say that you decide you want to pay the minimum payment on your credit card. If you have a $10,000 credit card and your interest rate is 20%, did you know that if you make the minimum payment on the credit card, it can take over 20 years to pay it back, and you may pay over $25,000 just to pay back $10,000, right? Another example would be, let's say that you are in your 20s. Some of you are in your 20s, some of you have kids in your 20s. Anybody here in their 20s? Let me know if you, all the young people, raise your hand. That's probably not, most of the time people start thinking about money and finances when they're over 35 years old. But if you're in your 20s, shout yourself out because I'm glad you're here because I think you're smart because you should be listening to people in my age bracket because we know a lot of stuff. Ashley's 27. Yeah, I'm literally twice your age, but I remember when I was 27. It was like 2 weeks ago. Right. So if you skip investing in your 20s, let's say that you have one person who starts at 25 and they're investing $500 a month in an S&P 500 index fund that earns about 8% a year. By the time they're 65, that person will have $1.75 million. So it's very easy to become a millionaire in America. It's super easy. I don't care what anybody says. If you can pay a car note for $500 and you put as much money into your portfolio as you put into your car, then you will have $1.75 million at retirement. So becoming a millionaire is easy because anybody can become a millionaire if they can afford a car note of $500, which y'all know a lot of people who can do that. So never ever have a person that's just driving a nice car who says being a millionaire is impossible. No, what they're saying is that that's like saying that that's like saying that it's impossible to drive to California. No, it's not impossible to drive to California. The problem is that you're trying to drive to California in 20 minutes. That's impossible. Driving to California in 20 minutes is really hard. Just like becoming an overnight millionaire is hard. It's almost impossible to do. But driving to California slowly but surely, even if you're going 50 miles an hour, that's very easy to do. It's west. You just look at the GPS and say, take me to Los Angeles, and the GPS will take you. The reason that it seems impossible for you is because you are cheating the process. You are taking a real, very simple, very realistic, very straightforward process, and you're trying to turn it into Harry Potter. You're trying to do magic up in this sucker. Magic don't work. I'm a mathematician, not a math magician, right? So a math magician will say that if you win the lottery or you get into the NBA or somebody just drops $1 million in your bank account, that you're gonna be a millionaire. No, a mathematician says no. Actually, if you take the same amount of money you're putting in your car note, and you also not instead of if you also put that same amount of money into your stock portfolio, then yes, you will have roughly 1.75 million by the time you retire. What part of that do you not understand? What part of that sentence did I just stutter? What's not clear about this? This is very straightforward. This is not rocket science. This is easy. This is simple. The hard part is not understanding the process. The hard part is getting people out of la la land and getting them out of the world of constant oppression and out of the world of complete disbelief and starting to just understand basic math and to love themselves enough to say that I'm never gonna put as much money into my car as I put into my future. If you don't invest in your future, then you will have no future. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? This is 2 plus 2 equals 4. This is not complex. And the reason people don't have money and wealth a lot of times, I'm not saying this is that there aren't real hardships in the world 100%, but the reason is because they've trained you to put everything else ahead of yourself. The whole black community has this problem. You out here serving everybody else but you. You're focused on everybody else but you. You focus on his family, his community, his situation, that political party, whatever, and you don't sit down and you focus on yourself. You should be first because you're already doing it. Everything that you need to build the portfolio, whatever it is you want to do, you're already doing it. But you get around to the point after you finish doing everything for everybody else, you don't work for that man over here, bought that man's products, spent money on this bill, that bill, this thing, that thing. Then you get done and you're like, I don't have any money. I'm financially exhausted. Well, of course you're exhausted. You're serving everybody. You turn yourself into an economic whore. That's what you are. You a vixen. That's what you are. You're getting pimped right now. Stop it. Take a moment, back up, and look at the whole picture and say, wait a minute. If I do half as much for me and my family as I'm doing for everybody else, my family will be good. That's all it is. That's really all it is. And it's a psychological trap. I talked to a 24-year-old black woman the other day. I told you about it, my heart went out to her. We talked for a long time, and she's becoming a nurse, and she is, I mean, exhausted. She's a nurse. She's a single mom. Baby daddy got killed a couple years ago. You know all that stuff, and she was worn out trying between taking care of this person and taking care of that person and fighting with her boss who has no empathy for what she's going through and all that stuff. And I told her, I said, you're going to have to stop for a minute and take care of you. I said, you're taking care of all these people. You're taking care of your child, your mama, your auntie, your cousin, taking care of this, whatever. I said, that's what kills people. Like really, and this is a genderized statement I'm about to make, the science says it's true. I don't think women are not. I told her, I said, as a man, we have like testosterone, so we're a little bit better able to fight and stuff, or whatever. Not to say women can't fight, women can do it, but there's something about the hormonal structure of women where all that stress has a different effect. It's not to say women can't handle it. We see it all the time, but when I see how many black women I know that have like gotten cancer and died in their 40s and 50s and stuff like that, I wonder how much of that comes from all that pressure of being the single mom and doing everything for everybody, taking care of this person and that person and going to work and doing this and doing that. And so everyone claps for the fact that you're so strong, but then everybody's like sad at your funeral when you die at the age of 52, right? And again, I would I just kind of said, I said, well, you've already got everything you need to be successful because you've shown that to me. You're smart, you got a vision, you're in school, you're working hard, you're taking care of all these people. So I say all you got to do is make sure you take care of you as well as you take care of everybody else, which means you need to love yourself as much as you love everyone else. You cannot sacrifice yourself and deplete yourself taking care of other people because not only will you be depleted, but you won't even do your first job. You won't even take care of those people because those people will not be taken care of if you're dead. So ultimately, the best way to take care of other people is to take care of yourself. If you invest for yourself first, then you will gain an economic power. If you invest in yourself first, then your financial security will grow. If you invest in yourself first, you will walk into the world with financial peace and authority and capability, which will therefore allow you to do more for other people. Right? I had to learn how to do that too. I learned how to take care of Boyce. Believe me, there's times where Boyce is the most selfish person on the planet for a little while because I say, you know what, I gotta go charge his battery, but he'll be back. So if you think he's sometimes you want to be Superman. I like that. I like fighting and defending and protecting. It's like he's coming back, but we got to go plug him in like your cell phone so the battery can charge so he can do his job. I'm not going to run around in this world with a depleted battery. 54-year-old black man, people like me die all the time, right? So anyway, so let me circle back on decision making. So if you start investing $500 a month at the age of 25, then you will have roughly $1.75 million at retirement. So becoming a millionaire is easy. Do you agree? It's very, let's say it's straightforward. It's very straightforward, right? It means if you spend as much as the average American puts into their car note and you put that into an S&P 500 fund, then you will have $1.75 million. Do you agree? Do you trust me when I say this? Do you believe me when I say that it's very straightforward? Maybe it's not easy. It's hard because it's hard to do the same thing over and over again. But most of y'all been paying bills consistently for 20 or 30 years. So you know how to pay and you know how to pay a bill consistently. You just maybe didn't feel like you were worth the bill you weren't important enough to pay yourself or pay for your future, right? But it's still straightforward, right? Okay, so check this out. Did you know that if you wait till you're 35, like you say, well, I'm 25 and I'm broke and I'm gonna wait till I'm 35, and you do the same $500 a month, did you know that that person will only have about $750,000 by the time they retire? So literally that decision to save that $500 a month for a few years literally costs you $750,000, or sorry, $1 million. Scratch that. I said it was 1.75 million versus 750. So that's $1 million decision. So that decision to wait from 25 to 35 is it costs you $1 million to do that. So the question you should ask yourself is, if I decide to wait, am I willing to give up $1 million to do that? If the answer is no, then you got to get started. If the answer is yes, then okay, no problem. All right. Here's the other thing too. I'm gonna take it a step further though. I don't think people will talk about this much, but I see the math in my head. So imagine though, if you do what we do in this space, what we talk about here. I don't see a lot of people talking about this. Imagine if you go 10 years before that. Imagine you start that kid when they're 15, right? And someone is helping them, right? This is where intergeneration, this is where generational wealth kicks in. This is where the intergenerational transfer of knowledge, power, and resources kicks in. This is where the tribe comes in, right? So imagine if somebody starts investing for their child when they're 15. Well, that's another million or two that they're accumulating that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So they're now ahead of the 25-year-old. So you applaud the 25-year-old for raising 1.75 million because they started at 25. But what about the 15-year-old who starts at 15 and then they're sitting on 3 million or whatever, right? Or what if you go further and you go back to the 5-year-old, right? A lot of y'all got the 5-year-old child, grandchild. We talked about this before. So imagine you do the same thing. Somebody invests that same amount of money for the 5-year-old. This is what our family's doing. This is our family plan. If you want to know what the Watkins family's doing for the babies are 4 and 7, and in between those ages, we're investing for them right now, right? Because we're looking at the financial projections of where we want them to be by a certain age. And when they're in their mid 20s, maybe they'll take over the investment. But for the most part, we're getting them started now. So when you're starting 10, 20 years earlier, you're getting a rocket ship head start. And this is to me exciting because it really provides a clear pathway for black people to actually have more wealth than everybody else. Like black families can do better than most white families because most white families are not talking like this. Most Jewish families don't even talk like this. So stop acting like other people are better than you or that they have skill and opportunity and possibility that you don't have. Yeah, there's a difference for sure, 100%. But focus on what you have. Okay. All right. We have each other. That's all we need. All right. A couple more things. Dropping out of college. A person with a bachelor's degree makes about 2.8 million over the course of their career. A high school diploma makes about 1.6 million. So dropping out of college can be $1 million decision, 1.2 million to be exact. Also, when we talk about Planned Parenthood having children, in the right way at the right time, again, I'm a little biased on that whole conversation just because they wanted my mother to terminate me. But so it's up to you. It's a personal decision. However, if it impacts your career in some way, a person that has a child at the wrong time is going to make roughly $15,000 a year less over a 30-year period than a person who has their child at the right time. So over a 30-year career, that's going to be about $500,000, right? So that's a $500,000 decision, which is why I believe when you say the word Planned Parenthood to me, I'm not thinking about termination. I'm thinking about planning your parenthood, which circles back to deciding who you even let into your life, who you let in your bedroom, who you choose to sleep with, which is a tricky decision because sex is just by nature very irrational. It's very emotional, and so understanding that consciousness means you're aware of your emotional vulnerabilities, and so therefore you can back away from bad decisions because you kind of know you don't have that blind spot. You don't sort of end up like these, poor people that almost like if you see some guy in child support complaining about all the kids he's paying for, it's almost like he talks about it like somebody else did it. Like he wasn't the person who made those kids. And it's kind of weird to me. It's like, no, you did it. You were there. Like we don't have pictures or anything, but the DNA test says that you were the one who actually did that. So you're telling me that you slipped and fell and landed in a lady's vagina. That's a really hard thing to do. So we don't understand what's happening here. And what actually is happening is that's the way the brain works. That's where people get tricked. They get tricked by these hyper emotional decisions that are built on instant gratification and the release of dopamine and feel good, pleasurable experiences. And it leads to real consequences financially and otherwise, right? Let's see. One more thing is that let's say you do an impulse buy for $200. So this is another area where emotions kick in. Impulse buys, when you buy something, buying is very emotional. They sell things based on emotion. Coca-Cola was never selling cans of Coke. They sell a Coke and a smile, which means they're selling happiness, right? So ultimately, the way these emotions are manipulated in the sales process is if you're falling for that, then you spend that $200 on a product that you really didn't want because the pastor made you feel good about something and you decide to go ahead and spend that money. Well, here's the thing. That $200, if you'd invested that into a stock portfolio over a 40-year period at 8%, turns into about $4,300. So when you spent $200, you didn't spend $200. You actually gave up $4,300. So next time you go spend $200 on something and you're not sure if you need it or not, I want you to imagine what they call the opportunity cost. I want you to imagine how much the fact that 200, if invested over 40 years, becomes 4,300, and you got to ask yourself, is that is that worth $4,300 to me? And if it's not, then you might want to rethink that decision. Okay. All right. Now, so before we go, let me give you guys, if you guys want to speak at the ABNC, I'll share the link where you can apply to be a speaker. We can't bring in everybody, but we always like to see what talent is out here. So here's that link. And also, I'll share the link as well if you want to just advertise your business. So maybe you don't want to speak, but you just want people to know about the company that you're building. I know some of y'all got businesses and you're doing well. We'd love to partner with you. We'd love to, if you're a sponsor, we'll hook you up, you hook us up, and we can make this thing work. So let me share the link for the sponsorship thing as well. And also, don't forget to join the class. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. So here's the sponsorship link. I'm putting this in the chat. And also tonight, we're going to do Powernomics training at 8:30. So I'll send you out a text. I'll text you guys a link for that as well. All right, guys. So have a great day. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. It was great to see you. And I guess we'll talk again tomorrow. So take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.